It looked like just another smiling post. A familiar face. A harmless caption. But within minutes, fans realized the timing was a little too perfect. While the internet was exploding over fresh Queer Eye drama, one former cast member quietly dropped a post that felt less like coincidence, and more like a message. Because as tensions boiled behind the scenes and rumors swirled about fractured friendships, Bobby Burke appeared online looking completely unbothered. No long explanation. No emotional statement. Just a grin, a wink, and a question that instantly sent fans into detective mode. And once people connected the dots, the comments flooded in fast. Some called it shade. Others called it genius. But one thing was clear, this wasn't just a random post. And the story behind why Bobby chose that moment to speak might say more about the Queer Eye fallout than any official statement ever could. To understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to look at what Queer Eye became over the years. When the reboot launched, it wasn't just another makeover show, it was a cultural reset. 5 strangers stepping into people's lives, tearing down walls, and rebuilding confidence in a way that felt genuine, emotional, and real. Over nearly a decade, the Fab Five turned into household names. They weren't just co-hosts, they were presented as a chosen family. Fans watched them cry together, joke together, and preach acceptance and vulnerability on a massive platform. That image of unity is what made the show feel different from everything else on TV. And now, that legacy is reaching its breaking point. With the 10th and final season officially rolling out, the spotlight is brighter than ever. Every interview, every post, and every absence is being scrutinized. Which is why even the smallest move, a missed appearance, a vague statement, or a single Instagram post, suddenly feels loaded. Because when a show built on togetherness starts showing cracks at the very end, people can't help but wonder what was really going on all along. That's what made Bobby Burke's post stand out. On the surface, it looked harmless. A throwback promo photo from Queer Eye Season 6, Bobby flashing a big grin, paired with a casual caption asking, "How's everyone's week going?" No context. No explanation. Just vibes. But then came the follow-up. Bobby smoothly shifted attention to his new project, asking fans if they'd checked out his latest show, Junk or Jackpot, tagging HGTV, HBO Max, and Discovery Plus like it was just another routine promo. Except the timing couldn't have been more interesting. Because this post landed right as Queer Eye headlines were blowing up everywhere. Fans had already been buzzing about behind-the-scenes tension, and suddenly Bobby, who had quietly stepped away from the series, was back on everyone's feed, smiling like nothing was wrong. The reaction was instant. Comments poured in, with fans joking that Bobby was using the drama algorithm, while others pointed out how perfectly unbothered he seemed compared to the chaos unfolding around the rest of the cast. What looked like a simple post started feeling a lot more intentional. And that raised a bigger question. Was Bobby just promoting his new show? Or was this his subtle way of saying he'd already moved on from the mess everyone else was stuck in? While Bobby's post was quietly lighting up social media, a much louder moment was unfolding on the press circuit. Fans tuning in to promote the final season of Queer Eye immediately noticed something was off. One familiar face was missing. Karamo Brown, the show's culture expert and one of its most outspoken voices, didn't show up for multiple high-profile press appearances meant to celebrate the season's launch. No red carpet smiles. No group interviews. Just an empty seat that sparked instant speculation. Not long after, Caramo addressed the absence with a statement that raised even more eyebrows. He said he was choosing to protect his peace and prioritize his mental well-being, explaining that he couldn't put himself in environments that felt harmful. Reports also claimed his team shared concerns that he was worried about being bullied, a word that hit fans hard given the show's message of compassion and support. The timing made everything feel heavier. This wasn't early season drama or a minor scheduling conflict. This was happening at the very end, during what should have been a victory lap for the cast. And suddenly the picture started to change. This wasn't just about one person missing a few interviews. It felt like the first public crack in the Fab Five's carefully maintained image, and people couldn't stop wondering what pushed things to this point. With Caramo's absence impossible to ignore, the spotlight quickly shifted to the rest of the Fab Five. Sitting together without him, Tan France, Jonathan Van Ness, and Antoni Porowski were put in the uncomfortable position of addressing the situation in real time, and their responses only added more layers to the story. Antoni was the first to speak up, framing it in familiar terms. He reminded viewers that the cast had been working together for nearly a decade, describing them as a family. But he didn't pretend everything was perfect. He openly admitted that families are complicated, and that tension comes with time, growth, and pressure. a comment that felt honest but also telling. Jonathan followed with a more emotional take, expressing pride in Caramo for choosing himself and setting boundaries. They emphasized that protecting your peace isn't just something you teach, it's something you have to live by, even when it's uncomfortable. Still, the pause before their words, the careful phrasing, made it clear this wasn't an easy topic. None of them denied there was friction. None of them confirmed it either. Instead, their comments landed somewhere in the middle, supportive on the surface but vague enough to leave room for questions. And that ambiguity only fueled the curiosity. Because when a group known for radical honesty suddenly starts choosing their words very carefully, it makes people wonder what's being left unsaid. Once the official statement stopped, the rumors took over, and they spread fast. Online, fans began piecing together timelines, old interviews, and subtle changes in behavior, convinced there was more happening behind the scenes than anyone was admitting. There's been a lot of buzz suggesting the tension didn't start overnight. Some reports claim the strain had been building for years, with disagreements quietly piling up off camera. A few sources even suggest there were moments on set that rubbed certain cast members the wrong way, creating fractures that never fully healed. Others have pointed to social media activity, or the sudden lack of it. Fans noticed follows disappearing, interactions slowing down, and once frequent shoutouts quietly stopping. It's been said that those small digital shifts were early signs that relationships within the group were changing long before the public noticed. To be clear, none of this has been officially confirmed. These are rumors, speculation, and fan theories, but they didn't come out of nowhere. When a show built on openness suddenly feels closed off, people start reading between the lines. And if even half of what's being whispered is true, then Caramo's absence might not have been a last-minute decision at all, but the result of tensions that had been simmering for a long time. That's where Bobby Berk's role in all of this starts to look a little more interesting. Unlike the others, Bobby had already stepped away from Queer Eye, quietly exiting the spotlight before the final chapter even began. No dramatic goodbye. No public fallout. Just a clean break that, at the time, felt surprisingly smooth. But in hindsight, some fans are now wondering if that exit said more than anyone realized. Reports have suggested that Bobby felt disconnected from the group long before his departure. And while nothing was ever openly confirmed, his absence from cast gatherings and group moments didn't go unnoticed. So when Bobby popped back up during the height of the drama, smiling, promoting his new show, and seemingly untouched by the chaos, it struck a nerve. To some, it felt like a subtle flex. To others, a quiet reminder that he'd already moved on while the rest of the cast was still navigating unresolved tension. The post didn't call anyone out. It didn't reference the drama directly. And that's exactly why it worked. In the middle of emotional statements and carefully worded responses, Bobby said everything without actually saying anything at all. And that left fans asking the same question. Was this just perfect timing? Or was Bobby finally letting people know he made the right choice by stepping away when he did? Once Bobby's post started making the rounds, the internet did what it always does. It ran with it. Comment sections filled up fast, and fans wasted no time turning a single smile into a full-blown conversation about shade, timing, and unspoken tension. Some people saw humor in it, joking that Bobby was letting the drama work in his favor and playing the algorithm perfectly. Others pointed out how calm and confident he looked compared to the heavy energy surrounding the rest of the cast. To them, the post felt less accidental and more like a quiet power move. There were also fans who read it in a completely different way. They believed Bobby was simply staying in his own lane, focused on his career and unbothered by mess that no longer involved him. That split in interpretation only made the post more effective. Everyone saw something different depending on what they already believed. Meanwhile, clips, screenshots, and comment threads spread across platforms, turning a single Instagram post into a trending topic. The drama wasn't just happening in interviews anymore. It was living online, evolving in real time. And with every new take, the question grew louder. If one post could spark this much debate, what else about the Fab Five's dynamic had fans completely misunderstood? When you zoom out, this situation starts to feel like more than just cast drama or a badly timed Instagram post. It highlights the pressure that comes with turning real relationships into a brand, especially one built on empathy, openness, and emotional growth. For years, the Fab Five weren't just selling makeovers. They were selling the idea that chosen family can be just as strong as blood, that communication fixes everything, and that vulnerability always leads to healing. But real life doesn't always follow the script. Reports suggest the demands of fame, non-stop production schedules, and constant public scrutiny slowly change the dynamic. When millions of people expect you to be emotionally available at all times, Even small conflicts can turn into deep fractures. And once cameras stop rolling, there's no guarantee those bonds hold up the same way. This is something fans rarely see, the part where feel-good TV collides with reality. Where people who taught the world how to show up for others have to figure out how to show up for themselves. And that's what makes this moment so compelling. It's not about choosing sides. It's about realizing that even the most positive, polished stories can carry tension underneath, waiting for the right moment to surface. So now the question isn't just about Bobby's post or Caramo's absence, or even the final season of Queer Eye. It's about what happens when the image fans fell in love with starts to crack, and whether it was ever as simple as it looked on screen. Was Bobby's perfectly timed smile just coincidence, or a quiet signal that he saw this coming long before anyone else did? Were the Fab Five truly a family behind closed doors, or were they holding things together for the cameras longer than we realized? What we do know is this: the show may be ending, but the conversation around it is far from over. As fans revisit old episodes with fresh eyes, every interaction suddenly feels different. And maybe that's the most surprising part of all. Not that there was drama, but that it took this long for the truth, or at least the questions, to finally come into focus.